morning. Yeah, it's a happy time, babies being born. Thank you for being here this morning. It's so interesting when things are going our way, right? That everything just seems easy. I've come to this center for so long that I surround myself with like-minded energy and thoughts and community, so that when I throw myself back into my family, I'm like, hey, whoop, you're disagreeing with me. What's that? You're supposed to think the way I do. I'm so surrounded in this bubble. And so I realize those moments of contraction are important messages for all of us to be the gentle urge to wake up and to stay centered, to recognize that everything in God's creation is part of our family and our community in a really big way. Damien read this message from Ernest Holmes to let go of every discord. He read it so very powerfully. And the idea is to impress upon ourselves as we prepare for moments that we feel might be challenging, to prepare ourselves to remember who we are. We are from this place of absolute pure consciousness. We are that. And when we allow ourselves to truly infuse our thoughts and our hearts with that, as I spoke before, Deepak Chopra just recently described this as a soft power. So I've been really using that soft power, not a hard, angry power, not a power over anything, but a power with the divine influence. And when I allow myself to really relish that sanctuary of my heart, to know that I have cultivated that space, I recognize there really is no discord, but that which I create. That which I create the moment I'm aware of it, the moment my heart constricts, the moment I take a second breath in and start to tighten my jaw and think, now wait, that's not how I feel. And as Reverend Mary spoke in her beautiful prayer, that you can gently say, that's not my experience, and let it go. I kind of, with the group of people I have some monthly dinners with, and we kind of laugh as we've matured. A lot of times the conversation goes towards what body part hurts, or what's going on with your sinuses, and kind of think, oh, how'd we get here? And then if not, then it jumps into maybe some political talk, and then we think, ooh, how'd we get here? And let's get back out because we're ruining our appetite. And so it's just like how that just happens. It's so subtle, because there's I would describe it as a frequency going on in our consciousness, like radio frequency, that those race conscious thoughts, those ideas of many are just kind of floating around, and every now and then our brain waves just kind of, tune in. Oh, there's that one. And so we have to be very diligent in recognizing, I want to tune my frequency to the higher order. I want to make sure that I'm allowing my thoughts, my heart, to reside in the sanctuary of my heart, where I recognize the greater good is always unfolding. As Ernest Holmes says, there's within us a complete consciousness of unity with good. And there is a oneness with that power. So let me begin there, and then I'm going to share something with you that I found. I've had this sweet little book. I can see what you mean. Put it over there. This book of Ho'oponopono. Now, some of you have used this as a sacred mantra, Ho'oponopono. There's a few phrases how many are familiar with Ho'oponopono practice? A lot of you, some of you. Well, what I did was I wrote operating instructions for Ho'oponopono. I copied this first page and I put it on the desk where you'll see Deb sitting if you want to talk to her afterwards. But I finally, as much as I have been influenced by this tradition of the Ho'oponopono, there's a phrase that you say, and it was developed, I'll just briefly describe how it was developed by a psychiatrist in the prisons in Hawaii, that he used this simple 4 phrases, and eventually every single one of those hardened criminals were released into society. Were released in a certain way through forgiveness, through true forgiveness. So where I'm jumping to here, conflict resolution, be the change, I'm pointing you back to forgiveness. Forgiveness of self, one of the hardest. Forgiveness of the other can be challenging, but it's also the opportunity to find your freedom. So let me share the phrases first, and I want you just to think about this in your own situations when you watch those moments. The heart never lies to you. So the moment your heart quickens, the moment your heart tightens, it's asking you, my beloved, listen here. Here is a message for you to be transformed, to be the change that is called for here, to bring peace. So the expressions are, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. I was introduced to those 4 phrases many, many years ago. And as it happens, this information recycles itself. It comes back around, and I listen again. I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. The idea is to continue to repeat that, just those 4 phrases. But this book finally showed me what they actually mean. Because I know I was probably told along the way what they meant, but here, this is a treasure to me. I'm sorry is the acknowledgement that I created whatever pain I've caused or errors I've made. So that begins with, I'm sorry. I've created whatever pain. Now you will question that perhaps. No, that was inflicted upon me. Yes, someone might have done some harm to you. But it's what our mind and our heart and our soul do with whatever comes our way. It is our spiritual calling. It is our spiritual higher way, is to lift that up, stay out of the loop of the story, and take it beyond, and to practice this opportunity for deep forgiveness. So it's acknowledging, I have created the pain. I have allowed myself to stay in this pity party. As justified as I am to be here, I've also created the story, and I've locked myself in because I think my story is sort of interesting. And maybe it's not so to other people. You've kept them out. You've kept them locked away. So, forgive me, because I did not know I had that inside of me. There's a difference. Forgive me, I didn't know I had that inside of me. It wouldn't trigger you if you didn't have it inside of you. So by the grace of God, you're being quickened and awakened and urged to wake up to a higher way, to a spiritual way, to a divine way, to that pathway out of the constricted heart into the open heart, into a space of kindness. I'm sorry, forgive me, because I did not know that I had that inside of me. Thank you for allowing me to release and cleanse this memory. You see, it's a prayer to the self. It's a prayer to the companion that walks with you in every moment, to the witness, that divine witness that dwells within you as you. Where you were blind, now you start to see. As in the scripture of the Bible, everything keeps reminding us metaphysically, turn back around. It lives within you as you. Turn this around. Set yourself free and set the other free. I'm sorry, forgive me. Thank you for allowing me to release and cleanse this memory. And finally, I love you. Oh, my inner divinity means I love me. And can be so hard to say, I love me. It's almost like you kind of whisper it a little bit. I don't want anybody to know, think I'm good, big, some fat ego, but I love me. Is that okay? Is that okay to love me? There you go. There's one that's not afraid. Yeah, I love me. So when you're confronted by a conflict, by a violent reaction, by an accident, by a traumatic event, anything that causes this strong negative emotion to surge up within you, and they happen. It happens because we're human. It happens because we live in humanity, and we're bombarded with different people's experiences and belief systems. They're not all going to be like-minded. So when we're confronted, we just say it aloud or quietly to ourselves, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. That's a Ho'oponopono prayer. Practice. Practice in the ways that you're silently, when everyone says, let us join hands and say grace at your Thanksgiving table. Or even if you sit alone and you are sitting with yourself, that prayer to the self unites you with the self. What greater companion would you ever want? There's no other way. There's no other way. We can continue to wait for the world to settle down, to meet our preferences, or we can be the change. It's a responsibility, and I'm inviting you to take a breath with that in such a way that you realize I've chosen to be a spiritual warrior. That's why you've walked through these doors, because we ask you to be responsible yourself for the self. Yes, there's great wisdom teachers. There's great avatars of truth. There's great spiritual gurus. There's great wisdom through millennia of time, pointing us to the way. Nature is the subtlest but most profound. Mother Nature is the greatest guide to remind yourself to renew the spirit of the heart. So we recognize that through all the wisdom teachings, the same theme surfaces. Forgiveness will set you free. Be that change. So ingredients, though, we all recognize somehow, how did I get in a place of discord? We allow ourselves to fall into pain, anger, and fear. And it can be like a fog. It can be like a fog. We could have been so clear from our morning practice, from our morning prayers. And then we made the mistake of turning on the news. And then suddenly, wait, this doesn't work anymore. Suddenly something so different inside of me. And the first choice is to go and reverse that, turn it back off. Go back into prayer. You have more work to do. You see, the heart's calling you home. Meher Baba was a man of yoga that I have loved his teachings, and he says this phrase, true love is not for the faint-hearted. Forgiveness and compassion are not sentimental or weak. They demand your courage and your integrity. They alone bring about the peace that we are seeking. And Buddha reminds us that he would not be teaching these things unless he knew absolutely that it were possible to free ourselves from greed, hate, fear, pain, anger. So we live this next week in thanksgiving and gratitude, and that automatically, when we turn our heart there and allow that to be our compass. My heart is filled with gratitude. I love this time of year. We can't help but look out and see beauty, and now we have a snowstorm coming, and we're like, oh boy, what's that going to be like? We've been so thirsty and dry for a couple months here. What's it going to be like to anoint our land with snow? And so we ask ourselves to pay attention, but to notice also every time, every moment that fear comes and starts to constrict. The moment the taste of anger, blame, or conflict, or any kind of resentment. And you see, why we talk about it at this time through holidays, because so many times most of you are going back to families. They haven't seen your growth, your spiritual growth. And they're going to try to pigeonhole you back to who they once knew you were. My family, though it's shrunk quite a bit, always wanted me to be that sarcastic, kind of obnoxious Sue that they could all laugh with because we were laughing at others. It's like, I don't want to be that anymore. That was awful. I'm a Scorpio, and so I really let that tongue go wild on the things that I would say, and I thought, I don't want to go back to that person. And often people say, just be funny. And I said, no, I don't have to, because that can be mean. Sometimes we can use her humor at the expense of another. So family can take you back, and suddenly you're rooted right back in there. It all seems familiar, so you're like, yeah, oh boy, I'm the life of the party here. Give me another glass of wine, watch my tongue go. No more. No more. Because you want to make sure that you're creating the atmosphere of good to unfold, to love, and for gratitude to flourish. So we watch the time that we start to feel that slight resistance. We can almost feel like, I'm about to be possessed by this. And then if we try to ignore it, just simply ignore it, like, it's not even there, we stuff it away, and then we start getting more anxious and more unsettled. And then we start to look for something to be the medicine to calm that anxiety, because I'm with my family. I'm with that relative that abused me at one time, and they make me anxious because I've never taken the time to deeply forgive myself for whatever took place at those moments, to find my strength, to find that soft power. So we tighten and we feel possessed, and we're trying to ignore it, getting anxious. Something is fighting, and those whole experiences fighting for our awareness to get a hold of it, to heal it. And when we recognize that, I am with the beloved in me as me, and I can heal this now. What would a wise heart do with this? What would kindness, as I recognize all the spiritual study that I've done, all the beautiful affirmations, all the power of the word of the teachers walking on our planet now, the Dalai Lama and Thich Nhat Hanh, and all of these beautiful people that are continually sharing us the information to heal, to let go. What would kindness release in us if in the moment of awareness, staying absolutely present with what is, we tend to that pure consciousness? Can you imagine the pause at the table when an insult came your direction? Boy, you look pretty dang chubby. You can just kind of go, I'm not going to react. I'm going to stay in the divine pure consciousness and know that I can open my eyes and say, yes, I had a grateful year of eating. Thank you. We could turn it around instead of taking offense at everything. And just realize that's their way. There's something inside of them that triggered them to say that. How do you feel about yourself? Do you love yourself? Then stay in the seat of your consciousness. Stay in that place of pure consciousness that will continually be your partner and lift you from suffering through compassion and forgiveness, ongoing, as we lift up the self. When we lift up ourself within ourself, everyone else lifts. Because everyone at the table, whatever table you find yourself in, is taken down when they feel the constriction. Didn't the energy just change in here? Yeah, it's because you said that about her weight. And it's like the moment, then it gets all this whispering. And then you just say, you are the one that can shift that by lifting it higher. Where do you choose in every moment to rest your heart? We can know this. We can know this and feel so strong as we prepare from spiritual practice, from morning practice, from evening gratitude practice, from pauses in the morning or in the afternoon to remember who I am, to maybe sweetly say the Ho'oponopono prayer again, and to allow a chant, a phrase, a scripture, a mantra to breathe through you. I am that I am. I am the grace that I am. I am the soft power that the divine infuses me with. We could choose in those moments and rest our heart in that. These are the tools that bring us back to life. And it does begin with this opportunity to forgive ourselves the moment we're triggered. Oh, I'm sorry, Sue, you're finding yourself there. Take a pause before you speak. Take a pause. And maybe even let it be an uncomfortable long pause so people are wondering where you're going to take it. And then shower them with kindness and love. Let that prevail. Let that kind of wisdom prevail and approach forgiveness and allow it to be the understanding to continue to forgive ourselves, because we have to let go. We have to let go of the past. We have to let go of suffering. We have to let go of betrayal. We have to let go of the urge to harm. Oh, we want to get back, but we have to let go of the past. We have to let go of attacking others and the self. We have to let go. We have to soften. We have to release. We have to let go. We have to soften. We have to open. We have to let go. We have to soften. We have to let go. Take a breath in that. And you realize in that pause, there's great love. Deepak speaks of this as an empowerment of the self by paying close attention. Because when you pause, you're aligning yourself with pure consciousness. God is, I am that, I am the consciousness of the divine. And we allow that when we enter that realm, any realm of possible conflict, even the hint of the slightest constriction of the heart, we're going to be right there, loyal to pure consciousness. Eswaran Eknath is a teacher that I love to follow his readings. He can take the wisdom teachings of all time, and especially the Bhagavad Gita and the Dhammapada, and what I'm going to be doing in January. He can take those readings down into such an understandable literature of heart. And he reminds us, though, he says, when we allow ourselves to be bumped around by the obstacles when we're trying to overcome this moment of constriction in our meditation, he said, those obstacles are like an inner tube around our waist when we're trying to swim and dive deep into the consciousness. That inner tube keeps us from diving below the surface of the mind. They entangle us in the thoughts of suffering and the experiences of the outside world. You see, if you had that inner tube on and it's an obstacle, you keep thinking, I don't want to be here, but I keep seeing everything. Dive down deeper to that soul of the consciousness that knows the truth, but I can't. Pop that inner tube, pierce it, and dive deep until you're swimming free into that pure consciousness. Obstacles that can get in your way are the senses that we get trapped in. We get tangled in the emotions and the impressions of our senses. They're leading us off the path. We want to recognize that our emotions and our senses are intertwined, and we can't really starve them into submission, but we find a middle ground with them. We sit with them until they diffuse into nothingness. There's a sense of also another obstacle is holding on to the sense of ill will, developing the tendencies to like and to not like, the habit of our mind in those moments that just went unattended. And before we know it, we had a resentment build. But we're just an invitation. What have I learned here if I'm seeing that? Another obstacle is a restlessness of the mind. It just can't sit still. We can't seem to harness that beautiful energy. There's a laziness. I don't feel like forgiving them. I don't feel like trying. I want to be right here. I don't feel like working on it. I'd rather take a nap. There's an anxiety, another obstacle, or fear, and it can turn everything then into an obsession. So change. When you are the change, when you meet the obstacles, you want to reflect on what's going on. What would the consequence be if I give in to this right now? Can I withdraw my attention? Can I go to the root? This has bothered me before. Why? What is mine to know here? And when you go to the root, and when I mention that root, that's another time you're saying, I can't see it. I don't know what she's talking about. She's irritating me right now. See, that's one of them. So you go to the practitioners and you say, help me see the root of my suffering. And the prayer begins there. And when you speak the prayer of presence to that root of suffering, there's a healing that is so profound, and it always stays with you. So we're led then by a divine influence as we connect to the trusted source. So, and there's also the ways, as I said, you co-create. Find a divine relationship with an avatar, a teacher, a wisdom way, and awaken yourself into the state of pure beingness. There is a passage I wanted to share with you from the Eshwarn's book. He closes it by saying, when you realize the divine self within you, this is what the Bhagavad Gita says, you are launched beyond superficial living like a missile. Your joy, your capacity to contribute to life are multiplied 1,000,000 times. To inspire us, the Buddha had given us one sentence as a model of ourselves, as glorious and yet as human as any we would ever desire. Love the whole world, as a mother loves her only child. Love like this will plunge us into the deepest consciousness and release in us the power to make a lasting contribution to all of life. Unconditional love, asking us to open up our love and to accept a greater truth is unfolding. And you are the avatar in that moment. You are the one. You are the one that's being called forth to make the difference. So as we go into our closing, I want to invite you into a meditation of letting go, into the softening of your heart. I already feel it in this room. You're there. We're there together. We are ready. We are the ones. So position yourself with dignity when you realize I'm about to enter spiritual practice. I close my eyes, I open my mind, I soften my heart and belly, and I allow myself to receive. In this beautiful passage, if you let go a little, you'll have a little happiness. If you let go a lot, you'll have a lot of happiness. If you let go completely, you're free. So as we enter this moment of choosing with gratitude a wise life of letting go, a path to freedom, letting go, not only letting go of hopes and fears and pain and past and stories that have had a hold on us, we are getting quieter and we are opening the heart. We do not need to fear what is about to take place as we let go. We trust the courage, the vulnerability of our heart to meet whatever life has as it is. We rest kindly where we are. We let go the tender ground of honesty, healing, and love, knowing that that will carry us through the ever-changing world. We're letting go does not mean we're losing knowledge that we have gained. The knowledge of the past will stay with us. We're choosing to let go and release the images, the emotions, the grudges, the fears. Start to think of what yours are now, the clingings, the disappointments of the past that have bound your spirit. Like emptying a cup, letting go, you're setting yourself free to receive, being refreshed, sensitive, and awake now, letting go. Letting go is not the same as being in a space of aversion, struggling to get rid of something. No, genuinely, we are letting go of what we resist. What we resist and fear secretly can follow us if we don't try to let it go. We're letting go of fear and trauma. We are acknowledging that's how it was. We feel it fully and accept it that's the way it was. It is what it was. Letting go. We're beginning to just let things be. We're breathing deeper, we're going deeper, we're tapping into that pure consciousness when we learn to let things be. It's losing its power, they're ceasing to disturb us. Take a deeper breath, go deeper as you soften the shoulders and open the heart as you allow what is true. Space comes. We breathe and we soften and we're resting and accepting. We're free. And we ask, do I have to continue? Do I have to continue with the story? Do I have to hold on to these losses, these feelings? Is it really time to let go? Listen to your heart. Listen to the heart, for it knows. There's an organic cycle of letting go, and we feel it. There's a wisdom. It's time to move on, releasing the past, and tenderly, we face the present moment, the only moment. We're letting go and returning to honest, simple openness. We're comfortable and quiet, and we're being kind and attentive to the body, to the breath. We are relaxing into what is. We're allowing ourselves to be settled on the present ground of pure consciousness. And as that story moves through our awareness, the feelings, the reactions, we recognize, yes, time to let go. I'm naming it gently. Betrayal, sadness, anxiety, hurt, shame. I'm allowing them to be in a space to float without resistance. I'm not holding them. They are flowing through my heart filled with compassion, and I am breathing. I am asking myself, is this wise now to release this past? And then I feel the answer. And I feel the benefit, and I say to myself, I'm letting go. Over and over, I'm letting go, and I'm softening the heart. I'm letting go of the feelings that have drained me. I am recognizing how the feelings are releasing like water draining out of the tub. I'm feeling the space that comes as I'm letting go. My heart is softening, and my body is opening. I'm directing the mind to envision the future where the situation has been released, and I recognize freedom and innocence and ease. I'm letting go, and I say to myself, let go, let go, let go, sitting quietly, noticing if anything returns each time. I breathe softly, and I bow to each moment. I'm letting go. I'm letting go of you. The images and the feelings may come back many times. Gradually, the mind trusts the space of letting go. Gradually, the heart recognizes you have let go. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Thank you. I love you. So be it. And so it is. Thank you.